Well, hello and welcome back to A320 Flight Sim. Glad to see you all here again today. I just want to thank you for your support. I had a lot of new subscribers lately, so hopefully there's some people out here enjoying these videos. Today we're going to be flying in Nepal. We're going to fly out of Kathmandu today, and we're going to head over to this small town of Dhangadhi. Once we get up in the air and we get some of the scenery going, I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory on why I chose this flight today. Hopefully you enjoy it. But for right now, let's go ahead and jump into the cockpit here of our China Southern Airbus A320. Let's get on out to the runway and get up into the air. All right, well, one of the first things you're going to notice here is after we're in the air, we're going to make this left-hand turn. We're going to be really close to these mountains. Of course, the elevation here in the foothills of the Himalayas is pretty crazy, but we get a little bit too close for my comfort. And one of the reasons is that the original flight plan called for a departure that went off to the right, and it did about a 270-degree turn and then kind of went off towards the west, towards our destination of Dhangadhi. But as soon as I was up in the air, I was immediately vectored by ATC. Now, I could have chosen to ignore those. It's just a simulator. There's no actual penalty or anything like that, but I wanted to keep it as realistic as possible, so I followed their vectors. But those vectors off to the left took me really close to those mountains, a little bit more close than I would have liked. I did have to give it a little bit of extra to get up over the top. But then we got up into the air and we got off towards our first waypoint, and then I was right back on track with the original flight plan that I'd filed. So one of the questions I've gotten before is, how do I choose where I'm going to fly? Sometimes it's a place that I'd like to visit. Sometimes it's a place I've already visited and I kind of want to see what it looks like within the simulator. Other times there's challenges and things like that that I see online that look interesting to me. And then other times I like to fly where friends of mine or people that I know are traveling to or have recently traveled to. I did that video for my brother when he had gone to Bora Bora, and I thought that'd be cool to try that out and see what it looked like. In this particular case, I have a friend of mine who I've known for a while. He's a great guy, and he is going to be going to Nepal very soon in the next week or two. And so we were chatting the other day and talking about his flights, and I was curious because of what I do here. And he was telling me about all the different legs that he's going to have to take to get from the United States to where he's ending up there in Nepal. And the last big leg of his journey was this flight that I'm doing right now from Kathmandu to Dhangadhi. And then we were looking at Dhangadhi on a map, and I thought it just looked like a really interesting place to fly to. And I thought I would really enjoy trying this in the sim, so I wanted to do this kind of for him so he could see what it looks like from the simulator side, and I just thought it would be a fun thing to do, checking out the Himalayas, checking out the foothills. Off to the right here you're going to see in these shots is the Himalayas, and off to the left is the southern part of Nepal. We're right by the border to India, so out onto that Indian plateau. That's kind of neat, I thought. When we get here a little bit closer here at the end, you're going to see that we are going to get vectored into Dhangadhi. I did again have a flight plan that called for a certain approach, but once again, air traffic control decided that they had another idea, and they decided to vector me in. Unfortunately, their vectors were not all that great, and I don't know if it was because maybe they're used to smaller aircraft going into that airfield, and so the sim kind of got confused by having a bigger Airbus going in. Regardless, the turns they gave me were all way too late. So they started me out wide, they turned me in kind of towards a base leg, and then when they tried to turn me back towards the airfield, the call just came in way too late. And so even though I made my turn immediately upon the instructions from air traffic control, I was nowhere near lined up to the airfield. And so I had to make quite a few corrections, and I was pretty close to the airfield, and so I was a little bit nervous about it, but I was able to get it onto final with enough room to spare, still a couple nautical miles where I felt comfortable, where I had a stable approach, and was able to come in and make the landing. But I really had to make quite a few adjustments there because their vectors were not all that great. So we'll check that out here. So now you can start to see some of these crazy twists and turns that ATC vectored me in by. Like I said, it started me out really wide. It made that first base leg turn, and I thought we were looking okay, and then I just kind of kept going, and I was waiting, and finally it vectored me in for that left-hand turn that was supposed to line me up for the runway, but unfortunately, again, like I said, I was way off to the side of the runway at that point, and I wanted to keep it real by following their instructions, but I realized at that point there was no way I was going to make that the way I was lined up. So Even though it was showing me a straight line into the runway, it was definitely significantly off to the right hand side, and so I had to bring her back over to the left and get it straightened out in time to line up for that runway 9 there in Dhangadhi and bring it in for a nice decent landing. So let's see how that goes. So here we go, we managed to get her lined up, got a nice stable approach, flaps at full, landing gears down, nice and straight there into runway 9 again here in Dhangadhi. So looking for a decent landing here. And down nice and smooth. Maybe just a shade long, but honestly not too bad of a landing considering how long it took for me to really get that lined up. If I had had a little bit more time, I think I would have been okay, but I didn't feel like I needed to go around. When I reached my decision height, I was nice and stable and felt pretty good about it. So at this point, we've got to get her turned back around because Dhangadhi is a single runway, and so we've got to turn it around at the end and get it back towards the gate. And we'll finish up here in Dhangadhi, Nepal. And again, I'd just like to say thank you so much for supporting A320 Flight Sim. If you could hit that like and subscribe, it's always greatly appreciated. And again, as always, if there's someplace you'd like to see, if there's someplace you'd like to go, drop it down in a comment. I'd love to go ahead and try something out for you. Like I said, some of my favorite things to do are just to go ahead and fly to places that people want to see. So if you want something, go ahead and put a comment, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on A320 Flight Sim.